I've been saying it.
I've been saying it for 10 damn years. Ain't I been saying it, Miguel? Huh? I've been saying it.
The flip phone is the new small phone.
Yep, the iPhone mini is done for. The Sony Compact is long gone. And today, I don't miss either one, because Motorola finally made something better. The RAZR Plus lets you luxuriate on a nearly 7-inch screen, then fold that screen in half to produce a phone that fits in almost any pocket. But 2 weeks of testing have taught me that my favorite thing about the RAZR Plus is how much I can get done without even opening it. Of all the quotes Motorola's product people gave at the RAZR Plus unveiling, this is the one that stuck with me. If you're gonna open it up all the time, you might as well just buy a normal phone. So to that end, Motorola fitted this colossal 3.6-inch OLED to the RAZR's cover for more notifications, bigger widgets, and almost any app you want to run. And folks, let me save you some time. No, I'm not going to play Asphalt 9 or Pokemon Unite like Michael Josh, even though yes, that's totally possible. And that's because the only game worth playing out here is my new obsession, Stack Bounce. Yeah, I got a pretty high score. It's no big deal. Please, calm down.
Oh, you bastard.
Stay tuned to the end, though, to see which tech tuber totally embarrassed me when I tried to brag about it in our group chat. For more productive examples of cover screen apps, come along with me for my closed phone morning commute. I start by checking the ferry schedule with one hand while brushing my teeth with the other. On my walk to that ferry, I send a quick text, then board the boat with my QR code. En route from South Brooklyn to Dumbo, I clean out my inboxes, not just by dismissing spammy email pitches, but blocking the sender. Then I log into my work account on my laptop with Google Two-Factor. I change boats in Dumbo and tap to pay for my morning coffee, also stopping for a mirror selfie, natch. On my next boat, I make a quick phone call before hopping off at Greenpoint, putting a pickup order in for a late breakfast, tapping to pay for that too, and I catch up on Twitter and check the metrics on my Pixel tablet video while I eat. I've actually done a lot more than that, including a video call on the cover screen just because, but I think you get the point. Barring the occasional app whose layout can't condense down to a display of this size, for most everything you're likely to do on the go, you don't need to open the phone. I mean, as long as you have good eyesight and the patience to deal with the occasional tiny touch target. And while there are widgets for things like calendar, Spotify, and so on, most of the time, I just find it easier to use the full apps.
Hey, if I promise to follow this up with something actually worthwhile, will you let me show you one more way to use the RAZR without opening it?
All it takes is a Miracast TV or a gadget like the Next Dock here. A few taps and the RAZR is ready for, a laggy, not very fun cosplaying session as a laptop computer. Yeah, whether it's Motorola Ready For or Samsung DeX, wireless desktop emulation has lots of room for improvement. But it is useful if you have a PC. It makes it easier to transfer files to or from the phone, and you can use it as a webcam that's certainly better than whatever your computer came with. And I bet it's nearly as important to Motorola as a marketing message. Samsung has never offered DeX on its flip phones, and that plus the gap in cover screen capability gives Motorola a couple crucial differentiators to leverage until the Galaxy Flip 5 hits the scene later in the summer. Like your maman always said, it's not enough to be pretty on the surface.
Maman, do you understand these things?
So let's see if this RAZR is just as sharp on the inside. As I said my hands on, we've seen a lot of this before. An FHD folding OLED under ultra-thin glass and a factory-installed plastic protector with a crease that's smaller than Samsung's, but which, like all creases, will probably seep and creep over time. Seepage was fortunately not a factor in the summer shower that hit me on day one, though. The phone's IP52 rating might be weak on water, but it's plenty for rain, and the phone is fine, even though I didn't so much as put it in my pocket. Take an intimate look at the hinge, and I think you'll see part of the reason why. When it's flexing, the screen sticks to the end caps much more tightly than on past RAZRs. In fact, in almost every aspect, this feels like the best-built RAZR of the modern age. It's shiny, it's smooth, and it's beautiful in both Pleather Viva Magenta and Victus Glacier Blue. My only complaints are that the phone is in fact too shiny, which makes it easy to smudge and makes for screens that appear dimmer than they actually are. There's also a slight wiggle creeping into the hinge, which might be related to Motorola's refusal to make it as rigid as Samsung's, or it might be due to my habit of flicking it open like Admiral Kirk in his Renegade phase. Who says you can't look cool opening a flip phone? Oh, David Pierce does, right. But that's okay, because the rest of his take is a good one. I was also grateful to see Motorola fix some issues that held prior models back. Yes, the processor and other specs, but no, I'm talking about little things, like the Bluetooth radio. It was terrible on the RAZR 5G, but it's excellent here. I can back pocket the phone while wearing earbuds with no problem. Also, so nice to see wireless charging, even if it is slow at 5 watts. Haptics are good, if not great.
And in a season that's seen me taking many more phone calls than usual, I've got almost no complaints.
In casual testing in the T-Mobile black hole of my stairwell, cellular reception seems on par with the Galaxy Flip 4. On that same Samsung, if I put my finger in the wrong place, I immediately muddle my own voice, which is something Motorola's microphone array handily prevents. Open or closed, calls are bright and crisp. And with a posable hinge and passable selfie shooter, video calls are pretty fun too. It'll even digitally follow you around. I only have one complaint in this department, which is that the screen tends to turn on during calls, and I also have one suggestion. If I put a call on hold, then closing the phone shouldn't hang up the call, even if it ordinarily would, and even if that's ordinarily very cool.
Hey, you know what's never been great on a flip phone? The cameras. You know what's not great on this flip phone? Yeah.
In my recent TicWatch review, I talked a lot about subjective opinion, and the aesthetics of a smartphone photo are a lot like the aesthetics of a wearable. They're in the eye of the beholder. Having said that, I'm the beholder, and you're here to hear me talk. So I put the RAZR Plus head-to-head with the Galaxy Flip 4. And when it comes to daytime landscapes at one of the best times of year to photograph New York City, well... Look, I know Samsung cranks up the colors to cartoonish levels. I'm not saying I like that, but when the alternative is Motorola's deadening, draining desaturation that almost crosses into sepia tone, I'll take Samsung's cartoons. Processing isn't always a bad word, like when you're forced to shoot against the sun, because that's the angle you're given when you want to capture this absolute unit of a barge and crane to share with your dad. Here's what Motorola managed, and now look what Samsung did. Can you guess which one I shared? I mean, of course there are exceptions. Throw enough blooming trees into a shot and Motorola's muted colors are a relief next to the Galaxy's glaring garishness. Toss a person into the scene, at least someone with my skin tone, and suddenly I'm loving Motorola's color science because, orange man bad. Curiously, the colors get closer to one another when you switch to ultra-wide mode, but here the RAZR takes another hit. Motorola went with a 108-degree lens, while Samsung sticks with the more common 123-degree FOV. That means the Galaxy can fit a lot more into the frame. Oh, and you know that shutter lag that's come to be synonymous with Samsung? Turns out Moto Blur never really left us, after all. The RAZR Plus does make up a lot of ground at night. Slap these things up against the window of a closed bar at 2 a.m. like a total creepazoid, and Motorola exposes better for contrast, preserving some of the mystery. Shoot the iconic Cat's Deli around the same time, and that same restraint means Motorola better retains the drama of the neons and the backlit signage.
I'm talking a lot about the cameras, but that's because they really matter on a phone that's being sold as this kind of TikTok toolbox.
And the cover screen does make it much easier to frame yourself up. Sadly, it didn't prevent me from accidentally copying a feel on Lady Liberty here, but it did help when I was shooting the Pixel tablet review by myself earlier this week. And the live preview mode takes it a step further by letting you use that cover screen preview in apps like Instagram or YouTube. If there's a low point to the camera, and I think the whole phone, it's 4K video recording. Every video I shot starts out choppy, like the phone was already chugging just to keep up. Even after a few seconds, the frame rate is still inconsistent. The color is this muted, lifeless sludge. I don't know what happened in this other shot from my Pixel tablet review. Look at my skin. Ugh. For some reason, you can't switch between the main and ultra-wide cameras while recording, and you can't use the cover display when time-lapsing, even though the Galaxy Flip 4 can do both those things. To reiterate, I have taken photos with the RAZR that I do enjoy. And if you're the kind of person who Snapseeds or Lightrooms everything before posting anyway, aka much of the target audience, then maybe the posability and the cover screen will be enough for you. I just feel like Motorola really needed to crush it here, instead of just skating by like it often does on the cameras.
Okay, I need a palate cleanser after all that camera mediocrity, so let's talk about something positive. Have I told you about stack bounce?
JK. How about battery life? Well, it's surprisingly fine. And on a clamshell, fine is the best you can hope for on a device not made by Vivo. Now, as you should know, screen on time is not a good metric for evaluating a phone's endurance. And that's even more true here, because Android doesn't count the cover screen in these estimates. Over the past 2 weeks, I'd say about 20% of my usage on the phone has been while closed, which is probably why I've always made it to bed with at least 10% power left. Again, it's by no means a marathon mobile, but I do think it's cool that if you're out and about and you're starting to sweat your battery life, you can extend your evening just by closing it, switching to the cover screen. And if you eschew the wireless coil for a cable, you'll get 30 watts of turbo power quick charging. You've just got to bring your own power brick. Finally, the day-to-day reality of RAZR life in 2023, so much of it is just solid. The chop and twist gestures for flashlight and camera are more reliable than ever. MyUX and Android 13 deliver a clean, quick, customizable interface. Peak display is great for previewing notifications if you mini laptop your Moto. And once you get used to the cover screen layout, it's easy to keep tabs on your inboxes out there, too. While there are some missing features I'd love to have, like an AOD and animated wallpapers on the cover screen, their absence somehow doesn't give the phone the feeling of being undercooked. The RAZR Plus costs $999 if you buy it unlocked, the going rate for a flagship flip phone these days. Consider buying it from your carrier if you are interested. AT&T and T-Mobile are each offering pretty great deals with trade-ins and contracts. Yes, I do think it's worth it. And yes, I do understand that might confuse anyone who watched the camera section of this video. But you gotta consider it in context. No flip phone has a great camera. Remember, the Samsung is also underwhelming, just in different ways. And for now, the RAZR Plus is the only device that brings two phones in one to pretty much any pocket size there is. That makes it special, and it gets so much else right that I think we can still call it a return to foldable form for a company that never should have stopped selling these in the States to begin with. Folks, there's so much more I won't be able to comment on until the RAZR ages in a little. Motorola's promise of 3 years of Android updates, whether the hinge starts to creak or the crease starts to seep, camera improvements, software upgrades to the cover screen, which of Motorola's service and repair plans might actually be worth buying, and how easy these will be to fix once they start breaking. To that end, I'll be putting the RAZR into my daily rotation in the same slot the RAZR 5G used to occupy, right alongside the Flip 4, soon to be Flip 5, as my night and weekend phone, alongside my workday book-type foldable. Just call me Captain 3 Phones again. Oh yeah, and the guy who slayed me in stack bounce, that was Tim Schofield. Well played, Tim.
Oh, you bastard.
This video was produced following 2 weeks with a pre-production RAZR Plus review sample running pre-release software provided by Motorola. which was also kind enough to give me a 1-hour head start on the embargo for this review in exchange for giving them my early impressions on the RAZR Plus a few months ago. However, the company did not get a preview of this review, nor did it pay a fee for this video or have any editorial input or copy approval rights. If they did, that whole camera section would probably sound a lot different. In short, Motorola is a subject of this review, not a sponsor. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to the Mr. Mobile on YouTube. Until next time, from Michael Fisher, thanks for watching. And stay mobile, my friends.